You're going to love this one after the election. Tyrus has clearly had enough and now seems ready to call things out whenever he gets the chance. During recent appearances on The View, he didn't hold back, challenging what he saw as the show's antics and pushing back with his own blunt style. Pay close attention to the very end, where he delivers his most direct remark because, as he put it, he's simply speaking reality in every language people understand. Today, we're breaking down that moment and even discussing the advice he had for the show's creator. And as always, don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe for more videos like this one.
Get out on The View, all right? Talking about Latinos. Watch this, Tyrus.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep.
So
they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
Misogyny and sexism.
Sure, all that, and the price of butter. Sonny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, asking that question, it might have been a closer election. But when nothing really comes to mind, I was like,
Let's be honest. Critics often say watching The View can feel like stepping into a parallel reality. They argue the show tends to present a very narrow perspective, where opposing opinions are sometimes brushed aside or talked over. What many viewers find ironic is that while the panel often claims to represent everyday Americans, the hosts are wealthy television personalities whose experiences can seem far removed from those of ordinary people, especially on issues like abortion rights or the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. Some commentators joke that the program sometimes resembles an echo chamber, where the studio audience applauds certain political mic drop moments while reacting strongly to viewpoints from the other side. According to supporters of Tyrus, he recently pointed out that the show may have missed an opportunity to encourage more balanced discussion by allowing a wider range of perspectives instead of reinforcing the same viewpoint.
listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler. They call these things. America rejected them, and instead of coming back and saying we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what.
Critics often single out Sunny Hostin for what they see as a tendency to frame many topics through the lens of race or identity politics, even when the discussion begins on a completely different subject. They argue that this approach can shift conversations away from the original issue and fuel further division rather than constructive debate. Supporters, however, say she is raising topics they believe deserve attention in public discourse. Commentators like Tyrus have weighed in on the broader discussion as well, including during appearances on Gutfeld, where he suggested that this style of debate can contribute to the declining quality of political talk shows. From that perspective, some viewers feel the approach reflects an earlier era of highly polarized discourse and argue that public conversation might benefit more from focusing on shared ground rather than constantly emphasizing division.
I think the problem is that we have an elite group of narcissistic morons. Mm-hmm. So, I wish that was a joke, but it's not. They don't. To go on TV every day to objectively talk about something, you have to study, you have to research the pros and cons. And both candidates, you should find things you like, things that concern you. It's called doing work. When you get The View, who are like, I don't have to think anything. I don't like them, and I'm rich, so you shouldn't like him either. And I can say anything because no one's going to check me. I surround myself with people. They'll have one puppet Republican who was scared to death to say anything against them, or if she does come out, they'll interrupt her nonstop. So there's this level of stupidity, and it spreads because they don't have to. All they have to say is Trump is Hitler, and their followers will be like, well, maybe.
Regarding Alyssa Farah Griffin, some critics argue that her role on The View often resembles that of a devil's advocate, presenting a conservative perspective while still operating within the broader tone and structure of the show. From that viewpoint, it can sometimes feel like a carefully managed debate where dissenting opinions are present but remain within limits that keep the conversation aligned with the program's overall direction. Supporters of this critique say it creates the impression of balance, allowing the audience to feel they've heard multiple sides while the discussion rarely moves far outside the boundaries set by the show. Commentators have compared this dynamic to the idea of controlled opposition, a tactic sometimes associated with authoritarian systems where limited disagreement is permitted to create the appearance of open debate, though critics usually clarify that they are not literally equating the show with a dictatorship. Personalities like Tyrus have also joked about this dynamic in media appearances, including discussions of the 2024 election and reactions to Kamala Harris's loss, where he humorously pointed out how commentators often end up blaming a wide range of groups for the outcome rather than focusing on deeper political factors.
Guess what? Their only mistake was they blamed white men. They forgot that black men, Hispanic men, and Asian men too. So that's the new thing. And then they're like, oh, it's just men. And then they're like, well, 53% of women. Oh, it's stupid women and men. So they'll just keep going until they're down to the only thing you can trust is a penguin. The penguins, they get it because they're running out of people to blame.
The post-election debate on the left has drawn plenty of criticism from commentators who say some media figures are quicker to blame outside groups than to reconsider strategy or messaging. Programs on networks like MSNBC and talk shows such as The View have become part of that conversation, with critics arguing that when a political movement builds its identity around moral certainty, an electoral loss can trigger a kind of identity crisis. From that perspective, acknowledging that voters rejected certain ideas would require rethinking messaging, tactics, and even the public image the movement has built over time, something many commentators believe is difficult for political brands to do quickly. Media personalities like Tyrus have weighed in with their own blunt and often humorous takes on the situation, suggesting that the post-election blame game can sometimes distract from deeper reflection about why voters responded the way they did. At the same time, speculation and media chatter occasionally swirl about unexpected guest appearances or cross-show debates, though much of that tends to remain rumor rather than confirmed plan.
It's not even that. In The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. Mm-hmm. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sonny, and was it Bette Midler?
That's right.
Broke Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back. She was a Republican, but every show and every break, she was nearly in tears because she was being attacked. So the problem is that you have to go after the racist people. And be the CEO goes, you know what? I'm not going to allow a woman on my show or man that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people. And this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you will.
This is where some commentators believe Tyrus may be mistaken. Even when critics argue that certain political narratives are disproven or unpopular, television dynamics don't necessarily reward changing course, especially if the content is still drawing strong audiences. In the TV business, ratings often matter more than ideological self-reflection. Shows like The View continue to generate significant attention, and reports from outlets such as Yahoo Entertainment have noted periods where the program averaged around 3 million viewers in a week, making it one of the most watched daytime talk programs on its network. At times, it has even approached viewership numbers in the 4 million range, suggesting that controversy, strong personalities, and heated political discussion still attract audiences. In that sense, the host's distinct on-screen roles, Whoopi Goldberg's calm moderation style, Sunny Hostin's intense and passionate arguments, and Joy Behar's sharp, sarcastic commentary create a dynamic that keeps viewers engaged whether they agree or disagree. From a business perspective, critics often summarize it with a simple question. If the formula keeps viewers tuning in, why would the show radically change it?